Can you really find happiness in polygamy? That's the big question at the heart of this week's Sister Wives episode.
Yes, Meri meets up with two of her friends who've also left the AUB religion, and their conversation is eye-opening as they share their experiences with faith, freedom, and finding joy after polygamy.
But that's not all. We also get a glimpse of Christine choosing her wedding dress, a moment that's not just about the dress itself, but about stepping into her new life, free from the shadows of her old religion.
And then there's Robyn's daughters, who are struggling to navigate their young adult lives, especially when it comes to finding a sense of religious community and dating. It's a fascinating contrast to Christine's journey.
Yeah, we're diving into all of it. Meri's emotional reunion, Christine's symbolic wedding dress moment, and how Robyn's daughters are looking for connection in a way that feels like a step back into the life their family left behind.
As someone myself who grew up in polygamy, I have a lot of thoughts on whether happiness is truly possible in that lifestyle and what these moments say about breaking free or staying connected.
It's a packed episode and we've got a lot to unpack, so let's dive in.
Welcome back, everyone. My name is Sam.
And I'm Melissa.
I was raised in a family with 4 moms and 35 kids. We were members of the FLDS Church, which is a polygamous group run by their prophet Warren Jeffs, who is now serving a life sentence in prison.
I was raised mainstream LDS. Sam and I have been married for 10 years. 5 years into our marriage, we decided to leave Mormonism altogether as a family, and we now have 2 awesome kiddos.
Yes, we do. We want to quickly thank our donors, YouTube members, patrons on Patreon, and all of our wonderful subscribers. We have a big goal of reaching 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year, which is coming very soon. So if you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe.
We also now have our holiday fundraiser going on for an awesome organization called Holding Out Help, where they help people who leave polygamous groups, just like the AUB. It's not just the FLDS, the AUB, the Kingston group, anyone who leaves polygamy, to be able to give them the tools and the resources to go from isolation to independence. We only have till the end of the year for this fundraiser, and if every person that watches this video just donated $1, we would more than double our goal. So please consider clicking the link below to donate.
Yes, it's an awesome organization. Helped some of my personal family as well. So yes, thank you so much for your donations.
We are back at it with Sister Wives today. There are a lot of episodes, especially recently in this season, that I feel like there's not a lot of religious connections to make. Yeah. And this is one that is packed to the brim with religious stuff that Sam has so much insight on. I have a little bit of insight on. And so we're really excited to share that with you.
Yes, this episode, as you kind of saw in our intro there's a lot to talk about, but a lot kind of tying back to the religion and polygamy and whether or not it's something that works out. In my family, it was very different than a lot of other families I've talked to. Yeah. But when people start talking about polygamy, there's definitely a lot of parallels, a lot of things that tie in together and that are very similar. So very excited to jump into that.
Yes. First, we need to talk about Christine going wedding dress shopping. Her whole entourage just made me happy, having so much love and support as she is finding this wedding dress. They have shown so many times on this show the picture of her and Cody on their wedding day and what her old wedding dress looked like. You know, it didn't fit her quite right. It was very plain. It was basically like her going into this new wedding dress experience. She wanted the opposite of everything her first wedding was, really, let alone her wedding dress. And she explained in this episode some of the reasons why it is more plain, you know, having it go all the way down to her wrists, all the way down to her ankles. Those are all part of the fact that they were going to be having a religious ceremony called a sealing. Yep. And for those who aren't familiar with Mormonism in general, sealings are when you have the religious marriage ceremony where you are sealed for time and eternity, that marriage does not end at death, but that you live on with that person through eternity.
Yeah, when I hear Christine and Cody talk about the marriage they had back in the day, and Cody saying, I had a hard time getting off work, and Christine saying that they didn't even have a wedding cake, and it was just kind of very small group, very in secret.
Because she was a third wife.
Yeah. It just reminded me so much of my childhood, and when my siblings or my father was taking another wife and those kinds of things. It was just very much one of those things where, all right, I'm going to go get off work and drive over to such and such house and come back with a new wife or come back married. Not even, in a lot of cases, even knowing the person. And it sounds like similar in Cody and Christine's case, they didn't know each other that well. So I was just thinking, wow, that is so similar. And kind of makes sense to me only because of the way I was raised. Yeah. Obviously, that was not how our wedding was, thank goodness, and I would not want anyone to get married that way. But but I can understand where they're coming from in the sense of just not really making a big deal of it at all.
Yeah, well, and at that point they're kind of in hiding, right? They can't really share with anyone that she is a third wife, that she's a plural wife, and they're worried about the repercussions if anybody found out. So yes, thank goodness it wasn't having to be hidden that way. However, her wedding dress journey reminded me a little bit of like when I went to go get a wedding dress, mainstream LDS, and Sam and I got married in the LDS temple, which also has a sealing ceremony, not a typical wedding down the aisle type ceremony, right? And so when I saw like her wedding dress, I wasn't allowed to get married in my actual wedding dress in the temple because it had short sleeves. And in the temple, you have to have sleeves all the way down to your wrists, and your dress has to go all the way down to your ankles. Not that that's a problem in a wedding dress, but just letting you know,
Right.
we actually, our sealing ceremony happened in my temple dress, which was very plain, long white dress, not a lot different than something that Christine's wearing, right? In the sense that it was just very plain, simple, white, ankles, wrist, and not very decorative. Yeah, nothing really fancy to it. And so that kind of reminded me of that. And in the mainstream LDS church, your wedding dress, when you go wedding dress shopping, is really an opportunity for you to have a wedding dress when you're in your reception and the party after, because you don't wear your temple clothes out in regular life and you can't wear your wedding dress inside the temple. So your wedding dress is an opportunity to be shown off basically at your reception. And Sam and I were talking about this because, and I had to have sleeves put on my dress because I found a gorgeous dress.
Right.
But it didn't have sleeves. And so I had to have sleeves added and tailored.
Someone commented that they had the exact same dress that you did for their wedding, but not the sleeves.
So it took them a second to realize it was the same.
Yeah. I just thought that was funny. Thank you for commenting and sharing that with us.
Yes, getting sleeves on was not the easiest thing, but I loved my dress so much. I've actually thought, I'm like, man, I wonder what it would feel like to have it if I could ever fit back into it. Then I would have to see and like take off the sleeves.
And the only reason that you had to put sleeves on was to cover your undergarment.
Yes.
The garments of the church, right?
Yep, yeah. Exactly. So that's why you had to add sleeves and make sure that your wedding dress was garment friendly and considered modest enough to be able to even take into the temple or to walk out of the temple in it. You basically, when we were done with our sealing ceremony, I went into a changing room and I got changed into my wedding dress to walk out of the temple in your wedding dress.
Now, I do know that the garment has changed since we were married, so you can wear...
I've seen wedding dresses
show a little bit more shoulder now.
Yes, and I actually have seen recently, like a lot more of the wedding dresses that people are able to wear with the new style garment is a lot different than what I had to do to be able to cover mine at the time. But anyway, so when I saw her wedding dress, it made me really happy for her to be able to wear the dress that she wanted, be able to have something that made her feel sexy and beautiful. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Just to get to see her experience that, because it just means so much. It's so much more than just a wedding dress. And when she talked about the fact that David was going to cry at the end of the aisle and that he wasn't going to see the wedding dress till that day, that's something also within Mormonism, because you're not getting married in your dress and there's no aisle. A lot of people have what's called, you take bridals, but instead of it just being with the bride, you take pictures together as a couple before your wedding day.
There's people yelling at you right now.
I know. Okay. So I saw on TikTok that apparently this is like controversial, or that people have never heard of this term. So I had to bring it up. Bridals, if you live in Utah, this is very common to go get pictures as a couple before your wedding. And then you have those pictures displayed at your wedding reception. Now, there were people I saw in like comments on TikTok that had never heard of the term bridals, or if they did, it was just the bride because your husband sees you when you're walking down the aisle for the first time, and that's tradition. But because you don't have that experience getting married in the temple, you basically make this big like reveal to your future spouse when you go to get pictures before your wedding.
So, and that's how it was for us.
And that's how it was for us. Yeah. And that's what we did. And my mom is a convert to the church, and she had a really hard time with it. She was like, your great grandmother would be rolling over in her grave if she saw you taking wedding pictures before your wedding day.
Before the wedding. Yeah. But how long was it before our wedding? 1 week?
It was a couple weeks, because the pictures had to be edited and then had to be printed before the wedding was like the expectation. So yeah, that's what bridals are. Also, another reason I think that you do bridals, not just because you won't see me coming down the aisle, but also a lot of times the reception is really close to the sealing ceremony. And because like you do take pictures still outside the temple, But it's a little different than if you're doing, like you're having all these wedding pictures during your ceremony typically, if you're not getting married in a temple. And you don't have that because you have no pictures of during the ceremony. So it's a way to get extra pictures, I think, that aren't just in front of the temple. If you want to go off-site, I think we only had like 2 hours between our temple sealing and our reception.
And I know you can plan that differently if you wanted to, but it was just the most convenient thing for us, for everyone that was going to the sealing, to then just kind of go straight over to the reception, and we can include as many people as possible.
Well, and no one would no one does too big of gaps, because they always joke that then the couples run off because you've not been allowed to have any intimate time before marriage. And so there's always a joke that if they're within the Mormon church, there's a joke that if you leave too much time in between, then the bride and groom will sneak off.
And then they'll have to redo the hair, and just all kinds of extra work.
And they have to do the walk of shame coming in. It's a real thing, guys. Anyway, we're getting off topic here. But I was very happy for Christine. And also, real quick, you do have to leave in the comments if you've ever heard of the term bridals before, because
yes, we want to know.
I want to know if it's just a Mormon Utah thing, if it's just a Utah thing and people who aren't Mormon do it, or if it's just a temple thing. Please let me know in the comments, because now I'm so curious and on a deep TikTok.
Yeah, is it just that one TikTok video and the viewers of that have never heard of it, or is it really that uncommon throughout the world? Is it just a Utah thing?
Yeah, because I guarantee Christine was not going to go have pictures with David. She was like, he's going to see me down the aisle. And so then when I saw that video, I was like, oh yeah, other people don't do bridals. Huh. Anyway, The next thing we have to cover, kind of going backwards from getting ready for a wedding, is Robyn's daughters talking about wanting to join a church, possibly for the sake of dating.
Yes, but before we jump into that, we have our awesome sponsor for this video, Descript.
If you've ever wanted to make amazing videos, whether it's for social media, family events, or just fun, you're going to love this tool we found, Descript.
Descript makes editing so easy it feels like cheating. You can take any video, yes, even the one sitting on your phone right now, and turn it into something incredible in just minutes.
Here's the magic. Upload your video and Descript transcribes it into text. From there, editing is as simple as deleting a word from a sentence. Highlight, cut, drag, and just like that, you've edited your video. You can clean up filler words, add captions, and even remove background noise automatically. Perfect for things like birthday montages, travel highlights, or quick TikToks.
One of our favorite features is the AI tool. It helps us brainstorm captions, draft Instagram reels, and even suggest chapter titles for YouTube. It's like having a creative assistant in our pocket.
And let's talk about those personal projects. You can make family videos with old vacation clips, added music and effects, all in one platform.
And it's so fast you don't need hours or fancy skills. The script is intuitive enough for first-time users and powerful enough for pros. Plus, you're saving time and cutting out the need for extra tools.
If you've got memories to share, stories to tell, or just want to spice up your social media game, Descript is the way to go. Click the link in the description to try it today. So watching this conversation with Robyn and her daughters was so interesting to me because, well, for multiple reasons. One, they live in Flagstaff, Arizona, which is highly populated with a big LDS culture, a lot of LDS kids there. Mm-hmm. And we've seen some of Cody's other children kind of try to go and get baptized. They weren't able to get baptized in the mainstream Mormon church, but it's something that multiple parents have been okay with and supported. And they didn't mention the LDS church, but as soon as Brianna said that it was because she wanted to be able to find people to date
with a similar lifestyle or similar values is what she said. Yeah.
It made me wonder if she's looking into the LDS church. Did it make you think the same thing?
It did. Well, my first thought was just a Christian church in general. And even the episode even showed a Christian church with the cross on top, which is a easy giveaway that is not a Mormon temple or church because of the cross. So, but I don't know if they were just throwing up a church in the video for kicks and tickles, or if they were actually showing a church that they were going to go and try out, because Robyn brought up the idea that maybe they could just go church shopping.
Yeah.
And try some different churches and see. However, if they want similar values coming from a Mormonism break-off group, the AUB, I'm with you. They may be more interested in the mainstream LDS church if they're looking for something similar, but just not the same.
Because speaking from your experience, leaving the FLDS, when you leave fundamentalism, do you think you would have, like, if you had gone to a mainstream Christian church, first of all, did you ever try?
No.
And do you think that would have been as easy a transition?
Absolutely not. No, because for me, the the familiar scriptures, aka Book of Mormon and Bible combined, not just the Bible alone. That was familiar to me. The hymns or the music that was being played was familiar. The community ideas and just kind of how they believed was familiar. Joseph Smith as the first prophet, so those things were just familiar to me. So it was an easier transition. But, I don't know where they stand. And if they're going together as a whole family, it might be easier to try something new.
That's true.
Me going by myself would have been a little bit more complicated, or at least I don't know that it would have been as easy to transition into a different idea.
Aurora did mention Buddhism, which was super cool to see something that is so unfamiliar or so different than Mormonism in so many ways. And so that was kind of cool. I'm very intrigued to see where they land, I guess, or at least where the kids possibly land if they continue. I'm guessing if they show this part of the show, they're going to show a little bit of that journey. Maybe they're trying to be like, hey, Robyn and your kids, we need you in this show, and it can't be just about everybody else. Because at like one point they're talking about like wedding dresses, and all of a sudden like Robyn popped in and like, a wedding dress is a very important part of your day, and it's good for you to feel special. And I was like, were they just thinking like, wait a minute, we haven't heard from Robyn for a while. Let's like clip her in here. Like, I don't know. It's so weird.
They pick a clip from like 3 seasons ago. Oh, Robyn, say something.
Say something real quick.
Put her in there.
How do you feel about wedding dresses, Robyn? Tell us your thoughts on it. Like, it was so random.
It was so random. And it didn't offend us necessarily, but we were just like, wait, that was so unnecessary. But
yeah.
But
so
anyway.
I'm just wondering if like maybe them going on like this faith journey a little bit. We know Cody has deconstructed a lot and doesn't believe in the AUB. He even mentioned that him and Robyn have had differing opinions on that, where she's been more like that. She used the words that she's lost her identity. And I feel like that's very common when you lose your religion, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's you lost your faith and so then you stepped away from religion, or in her case where she was kind of forced out of it in so many different ways and aspects of it that she's trying to navigate that. My heart did feel for her a little bit in the identity loss of your religion and your religious community is very, very hard.
Yeah. I find it so interesting that Robyn is so pro polygamy. She keeps saying that she wants this polygamous relationship and style and all of these things, when in reality, she's never lived polygamy herself. Hold on. I know that might sound crazy, but she was married before Cody, and it was just the two of them.
Yeah.
She was in the church, sure, but she was living a monogamous marriage life, right? And then she joins the Brown family and becomes Cody's only wife. And all of the other wives that were actually living polygamy before that were like, we don't like this. They
could feel the favoritism.
There was all of the even before Robyn, there were the conflicts and the different of opinions and the struggles there. But then Robyn comes in, and Cody finally admits that in the beginning, he tried to say that in the beginning, I was not
There's no favoritism.
If
anyone tries to say that Robyn was favored before recently, they're wrong.
Yeah, but now he says, okay, maybe there was something to what Christine was saying. Maybe she was my soulmate from the very beginning.
Yeah, so I mean, typical Cody in that sense. But you're right. Robyn really has ended up in monogamous relationships. And I'm curious, Cody doesn't want to be a polygamist anymore. And it doesn't seem like Robyn is going to want to leave Cody in order to go try to live a plural lifestyle. Right? And so at that point, if she's willing to let go of the polygamous part, an aspect of the religion, I'm very curious where they're going to end up religiously as a family. And especially if they go and look at churches together, like all together with their kids and their older daughters and stuff.
Yeah, because no other church, if it's mainstream LDS or other Christian churches, are going to be allowing polygamy. So once again, if they're changing their belief or their religion, then they're just stepping that much further away from the idea of polygamy ever being a part of their family.
Which, in a way, too, it also opens up the freedom for them to be able to go look for churches. Because before, when he had multiple wives, there would be no way for them to be accepted.
That's true.
So now that officially everything's over with all the other wives, it does give Robyn the freedom to go church shopping, where she wouldn't have been able to go before if she was claiming that she had sister wives.
Exactly. So very interested to see where their journey takes them and what they end up doing. I hope this is like the one thing that I actually am curious about. I hope the show does follow their journey religiously and let us know where they end up if they start going to another religion.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if they end this season. Like,
I'm sure at this point they already have.
Yeah.
But we're just sticking with the show here, pretending like the show is showing what's happening right now, even though we know it's not.
Even though we know it's super far behind.
Yeah.
But the main thing that kept going back and forth to this conversation was Meri meeting up with some of her friends from the AUB and having this conversation at Lakai. Out of all the places, when Sam and I saw that it was Lakai, Sam was like, the vulgarity that they would film this at Lakai.
I wish Meri would have used that term a slightly different. She did say that when she brought up to Cody that, hey, what if I had multiple lovers? How would that make you feel? And she said, and he told her that it was vulgar. Oh, I was like, oh, no, you missed the mark there. I was hoping so much she would say, he said, the vulgarity of that comment just sickens me. It's just, I don't know. It's just funny that it brought back that scene when we have brought it up so many times.
Oh, it's
along
like
the
a
journey.
new family joke. Like when someone will say the vulgarity of that. But honestly, it was such a good conversation. These friends, I'm like, these are true friends to Meri. Okay. Andrea and Hillary, so awesome. Man, they just gave such good advice. You could just tell, such solid friends. Meri talked about the fact that these were the friends who were sitting in the car waiting for her to get out of the council.
Yeah.
You know, Andrea they're walking in and is like, hey, have you effed any guys yet? And that part, I was laughing so hard because we know some of Andrea's family and they messaged us saying the reason that she asked that question to Meri was because that was the question that the council asked Andrea when Andrea went to get a release and separation from her husband in the AUB.
So she wasn't just trying to be funny, even though it was very funny that she would ask such a
blunt question,
straightforward question. But it was a sincere question, it sounds like, because that was a common question when you go to get released. Well, have you effed any other? Well, you know, that just is.
And the council probably didn't use it in those words, but just the fact that the council's asking those type of questions when women are going in to ask to be released, I was like, I cannot imagine being asked that question. You're trying to get a separation from your husband, and they're asking if you've slept with other people.
I want to know why. Like, what would that change?
They'd be like, well, if you've slept with someone else, then you're not allowed to be released from your husband.
Or that you're released in a different manner. Like
maybe then there's like disciplinary stuff. I don't know.
Maybe you have to repent of something. Ultimately, I guess if you're going to them to get released from a spiritual marriage, then they're going to expect that you're following their teachings, right?
Maybe. I don't know, but all I know is that it was funny, and we were totally here for Andrea and Hillary because they were the best part of this episode. Yeah. And just their straightforwardness about everything. Like, you know, Robyn was always picked over you and over all the other wives. And the fact that Meri admitted that was the first time, like, she's like, yeah, I can see that now. And I was like, oh, thank goodness she's starting to see. Because when Hillary said to her, I just want there to be a time when you don't declare, I would have stayed. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's a good friend right there. Because I hope that for Meri too. The fact that like Meri is constantly still saying like, I would have stayed if Cody had allowed me. Like it feels like she was continuing to try to prove her faithfulness, prove her worthiness. And even when Cody was saying goodbye and he was all emotional, she was like, should I have tried longer? Should I have stayed longer? That like oppressed mentality of I need to constantly earn worthiness and that marriage is supposed to be hard. I think Meri said the words that, you know, it's supposed to be challenging. Oh, that you have to suffer to get to heaven. That's how she was taught.
Yes. And that's how I was taught too, that this life is about suffering and about proving yourself through the trials and difficulties that you're going to stick strong and be faithful. It's what it's about. It's supposed to be a trial so that you can learn and grow from it and then prove yourself worthy. So yes, that would ring clear to me as well.
Yeah, and that's what she's used to. And I feel like that was going into a lot of their conversation they were having about, you know, whether the council's asking you questions like that when you're trying to get a release from a husband, like what happened with Andrea, or whether Andrea mentioned the fact that she had fear of expressing herself in that religion and the fear of standing up, right? That women are meant to keep sweet and to listen and to obey and you can still see Meri having a hard time growing out of that mindset that she's supposed to just stay around and be, I don't know,
Yeah.
be complacent.
Yeah, I really agree with Hillary, and in the hope that soon Meri will be able to just say, no, I'm glad that I left. I didn't want that for myself. I don't want that lifestyle, because by admitting that she would have stayed with him, it opens up the door for Cody to manipulate, which we have seen in the previous episodes when he is sobbing and hugging Meri, that Meri is leaving him. In a way, the only thing I can even begin to make sense of is that it's a manipulative tactic, because she is still so vulnerable.
Yeah.
I don't see any other. Even Cody himself admits that, oh, I would never get back with her. Why then? Why? If you are actually sad about this, leave Meri alone, go to your car, and then sob. But let her live her life. It just is such a, making it all about him is unfortunately what it looked like.
Well, and Meri is clearly not over it yet. She's not even over the plural mindset at this point either, because she says to her friends, like, well, I do think it can work for some people. And Hillary's like, I've never seen it work for anyone. Like, have you ever seen it work for somebody?
A happy polygamous marriage.
Where there's not this jealousy and sadness and fear of speaking up and these things. They're like, within that religion, that is what they saw across the board. And when she said that, you could see like Meri's wheels turning and trying to decide, like, have I actually seen happiness? And the only response she had was, well, are there monogamists who are happy all the time?
Are they happy 100% of the time? And I can see that Meri is thinking, well, no one is happy always. And okay, yeah, she has a point. There's ups and downs in marriages. Like, I understand that. But the fact that she went there, to me, tells me that just like I would see in the FLDS, that people would make excuses or justifications that this is okay. That what I have to sacrifice in this marriage to make polygamy work, and the jealousies that I have to push aside, it's okay, because even monogamists aren't happy all the time.
Yeah, and Hillary then mentioned, and I was so glad, again, Hillary and Andrea for the win, because they were so good at just telling it how it was. Hillary was like, well, I'm a monogamist, and I don't have to worry about whether or not my husband favors sleeping with me over his other wives. And I know that he's picking me every single day. And not that things have to be perfect, but there is certain securities in monogamy or in good monogamous relationships, because we see even within monogamy, as soon as there's jealousy and betrayal, like those type of things, those will always ruin relationships. And polygamy is set up for instant jealousy all the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's so sad to see. And as I was watching Meri's wheels turn, I was like, please just listen to them, Meri, because we want to see her be able to move on and have a happy monogamous relationship where she gets to feel like she's prioritized. Because she even said that. She's like, I can't imagine what that would look like. Or Christine mentioned with David that she didn't realize how independent she was until she realized she needed to include David in decisions that she wasn't used to including a man in. You know, and she's like, oh, I need to remember to do that.
Yeah. The way, before we move on from this, sorry, was such a fascinating topic to me, that this idea of, can you be happy in a polygamous marriage? Because I grew up around that, and I saw my siblings, I saw my father and his wives and things, and so it was something that I would see all the time. And what I have come to the conclusion is that when it comes to polygamous marriages, it is done out of two reasons: either duty, following what you think God wants for you and what is best for you, and it's God deciding. So duty, or it is for personal, selfish reasons. Those are the two reasons for polygamy that I have seen in all of the different groups, not just the FLDS. Whereas in monogamous marriages, I have seen and experienced that it is simply done out of love. So to me, that is where I would draw the line. Okay, duty and selfish reasons, or love. And I'm not saying that every polygamous marriage is a bad marriage, because I saw it in my own family with my own father and the mothers. Yes, there were hard times, but overall, it seemed to be that they had figured it out in order to have a good marriage. But even then, it was done out of duty. Yeah. It was done for religious purposes. So, once again, still falls into the category.
Yeah. And you hear a lot of times in different polygamous communities where they say, even when they got married, or especially in the FLDS where it's all prearranged marriages, they say that they're meant to grow into love, that they're supposed to learn to love their partner. And so it most definitely doesn't start off with that sense of love to begin with.
Right, right. So just it becomes too different from what I've seen and experienced, because Melissa and I, I never felt that we got married because it was something we were required to do or had to do. And I never felt that we did it for selfish reasons, right? Like we could just choose.
I don't know. I kind of wanted you all to myself forever. That's a little selfish.
But you know what I'm referring to.
I do.
That there are those men out there in this world that would say accept polygamy because they're thinking, ooh, I get to have multiple women. Yay. And people joke about it all the time and have said that to me multiple times after hearing that I come from the FLDS and left that. But anyway, it just can be so much more simplified when it is between one man and one woman, when they can just find each other, fall in love, and get married because that's what they simply want to do.
Yes. But that brings us to our question of the week for you all, which is, what's the key to marriage? Is it duty and commitment? Or is it love and personal happiness? Or does it have to be a combination of all of those things? Let us know what you think below in the comments.
Yes. Thank you all so much for being here with us again, and we look forward to talking with you soon.
Talk to y'all soon.